I'm Elliot, a writer, and I'm going to be typing out The Great Gatsby by F Scott Fitzgerald. Why? Because that is something that Hunter S Thompson did because he wanted to see what it would be like to write a masterpiece. Now that I have some time on my hand, I figured out it would be a good opportunity for me to copy a classic word for word. So please join me every Saturday until I finish the whole novel. Hey, another week. This has been my third week working from home. This one was it went by pretty quickly actually. It was full of up and downs. I can't really remember all of it anymore, but this was a tougher week to get through. I hope everybody is doing good as well. Hope everybody is healthy, happy, finding fulfilling ways to spend their time. I think that is something we're all trying to figure out right now, is if this lasts for another 2-3 months, what are we going to do with that time? How are we going to spend it? Are we going to watch more television? Going to watch that tiger documentary again? Or are we going to do something else? I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I just feel I feel very grateful of what I have at the moment, that I can actually spend my time doing this, which I have been looking forward to all week. I'm very grateful that I am able to continue to work from home, and I'm very grateful to have extra time to spend working on my short stories. I've submitted 2 short stories this week to publications. We'll see what happens to them, obviously. It's been good. I've been getting a lot of sleep, sleeping normal hours, waking up normal hours, eating the food we have here. It's been good. I mean, it's been a heavy week in terms of just dealing with everything. That's why I've been looking forward to this so much. This has been, which is kind of crazy because I've only done it for 1 week, and I was so worried that I wouldn't get to do this again for some reason. But now that I'm here, I'm ready to get started again. Typing out The Great Gatsby. I've been looking forward to it. Let me just get one sentence down. Like I was saying, I've been looking forward to this whole project that I'm doing because it's a nice departure from work, like work, and it's also been a nice departure from my own personal writing work, like writing my short stories or editing my short stories. This has been a nice, almost therapeutic, because I know I don't have to do a lot of thinking when I do this. Just kind of read what I'm typing out and just internalize it and then vocalize it to you, to anyone watching today, which I hope there are. Hope that we can share this moment together, just catch up with everything that we've been going through. A bit of social and less distancing. And just before I get really into this, I was looking up some like blog posts about just like copying work and why it's valuable to copy other people's work, especially if they're considered really, I guess the word is very well received, like highly acclaimed work, why we should copy them. And you think back to any sort of art that you do, whether it's illustration, whether it's playing music, and it always seems like where you start is by copying someone else. It's interesting that when we learn to write, we don't always approach it that way. We always approach it with having to write original work. We'd never just really copy someone's text word for word and just see how it all plays out. But when we learn to play music, that is exactly what we do. We read someone else's work and we try to recreate it in our own way. And the more I think about it, it's just like, yeah, this is important, what I'm doing. If I want to become a better writer, this is what I have to put myself through in a way. So here I am, putting in the time that, aside from me making these videos and sharing it with you, it could really seem like completely wasted time, but that's not the way I'm looking at it right now. It's an opportunity for me to spend time with you, and it's also an opportunity for me to think of the structure of The Great Gatsby, how it's sort of built, and think of the words that Fitzgerald chose to use in the story. And I think just recognizing it is going to be really good when I go back to my own work and start applying it. And it's like I do think it's a lot like learning to play an instrument. I got a violin here, if you can't tell. And you really do start by just copying someone else. And I think that's the thing. It's like you're copying, but you're not plagiarizing. You're not trying to make people think this is your own work. I think that's a huge distinction. I'm not going to try to publish this later. All right, now let's just kind of dig into it. Let's just take a deep breath, really find our intention today, and see what we can learn. Coffee. A little cold. That's okay. sometimes I just autocorrect stuff, and yeah, I'm not sure if it's actually the text that's wrong, or if I'm not sure if Fitzgerald is wrong, or the software is just picking up on things that it doesn't need to. But even the most revered piece of writing out there, I think you can still find mistakes. That's not right. Speaking of mistakes, cruel body. Yes. Interesting paragraph. Describing his old friend Tom. I often find that it's very difficult to write descriptions of people. I do. I find it very challenging. I often have to, I guess when I'm writing, I don't often visualize every detail of a character. I kind of just throw them in, and they kind of like form themselves as they go. One technique that I do use sometimes is I pretend like I'm a casting agent, and I just pick like an actor or actress that could fill that role, and I try to describe them as opposed to who the character is. It's a little cheat. Writing is all about finding these little cheats, I think, because no one needs to know. Definitely the actors don't need to know, unless the story gets optioned and becomes a movie, which would be nice. You hear a lot of screenwriters, when they write, they just write for a very specific actor. I think that's something short story writers and novelists should do as well. Why not? Kind of sends you in a direction, doesn't it? I'm also I'm terrible with vocabulary. It's definitely something I want to improve more on. Fractiousness. Also so bad at like just reading. It's one of those things where the deeper you get, the more you realize you don't know. Readily angered. Excellent. I like that. I think what's great about this paragraph right here and the paragraph before is he's not talking about what the character is actually doing. He's talking about this narrator, Nick Calloway. It's this impression that he's getting, and I think that's a really good way to describe a character. It's not so much about what the character is doing or how he's, sort of, it's not through the action. It's like kind of through the action, but more of the interpretation that the person looking at them have. Something to keep in mind for when I get back to my own stuff, like I mentioned. Oh yeah, we're using single quotation marks. Yes, I'm really learning to appreciate this this book this way. I remember reading it the first time and was just being like, oh my god, this guy just keeps thinking. Let's get some action in here, right? But I'm really appreciating it. Is that maturity? I don't know. I do not think I'm mature. It's something I'm working on. I don't want to lose all my childish whimsy, I suppose, when I write. Really trying to figure out my style. I think we talk so much about like styles as in like aesthetic, but I think style is really about how you make people feel. Like you want to make, when you think of a certain storyteller, you're like, okay, that book is going to make me feel that way, and you kind of fit into that certain genre. It's like, what do I, as a writer, what do I want to make people feel? What does The Great Gatsby make me feel? I don't know yet. I think, oh yeah, that messed up there. I think the ultimate form of writing, though, that's something I want to strive for, is writing comedy. There's nothing harder. To write a novel that can make you laugh, like, at least once out loud every chapter, I think that's something I want to do. I don't just want to make people sad all the time. Although that's good too. I find that sadness is where I inherently go. It's very natural for me. I like it. Makes people kind of worried about you though when you write a lot of sad stuff, doesn't it? I do want to add this thought. It's when people do talk about writing comedy, they often say that you do have to start with just like drama, just like what is believable, what actually happens, and it's through that massaging of the dramatics that the comedy is, it just kind of seeps out. So I think if you want to write comedy, you could go ahead and say that's what I'm striving for, but I think where you have to start is by writing a very believable story in itself. I think that's something Judd Apatow said. It's just, you just start with like an interesting premise that could just live on its own without ever having to make someone laugh. And it really is through that workshopping and rewriting that the comedy just kind of finds its way in. You know, it's like adding extra spice to a meal. You gotta cook the food first, understand the flavor, and then see where it can be enhanced. Okay. That was such a good sentence in terms of the way it just kept kind of going, you know what I mean? And I downloaded this Great Courses audiobook and about how to write better sentences. And I'm about like a quarter of the way through, and it's just talking about cumulative sentences and how we as writers are often taught that brief, clear, concise writing is the best, and it simply isn't true. Really good writing is a blend of both short sentences and long ones are often more intimidating because it's long. It's just long, and it's like one idea, but it's connected to like different ideas. And here we have this room, and he's describing this room, but he's describing it with like different things. He's comparing it to flags. The curtains are flags, and then like the ceiling is like a wedding cake, and then the rug is wine colored, and then the shadow is like doing what the wind does to the sea. So many ideas there. I wonder how long it took him to actually write that sentence and how much, I guess, time and effort he took into just creating the visuals for it. So that's something I strive to do as well. And I think if there's one thing to learn from all of this, there's many things to learn, really. Is just to see how Fitzgerald build these sentences out. And these are things you really don't notice when you're just reading. But when you're breaking it apart like this, you kind of see it. And I think this is what's valuable. You move too fast when you're reading. And I do think the key is to not lose the reader when you do have these long sentences. Everything needs to kind of flow together properly. This is water. Actually, sparkling water. That's the risk. If your sentences are kind of disjointed, if it's about too many things all at once, you could definitely lose a reader. I've been lost many times. Like I'm lost right now, trying to find the word. Balloon. Oh, did I just write the same sentence again? My bad, sorry. This is they're both white. He's just full of these like metaphors and similes. Just every paragraph has a bunch of them. I'm just gonna quickly get up and check my camera really quickly. Oh, sorry about that. I just get this fear that it will stop filming all of a sudden. I should have put it on airplane mode. I didn't. Now I'm worried about that. All right, another 2 pages done. Let's get back into it. See, it, you start to realize how smart it is. That he's making all these associations with life. It's delightful. What a delightful introduction. I like how he goes ahead and describes another character and not describing like an actual main character. Creates a bit of mystery around that. Why do I keep spelling it that way? Murmur. It feels so real. Feels like a real person, right? Doesn't feel contrived. Where am I? I like this whole thing because it's so relatable. We've all kind of just walked into a scene that's already happening. People are already doing stuff, and it's a little awkward, right? And it really does capture the awkwardness that something else is happening, and this character is just noticing things. That's essentially what's happening. He's just thrown into this awkward situation, and he's just highlighting all the awkward bits. You could easily say, I walked into this room and it was super awkward because I saw them doing this or this, but he's teasing it out. These moments, these like isolated moments, and he's focusing on one thing at a time. But it all comes blending in together as we read it. So just focus on one detail at a time, right? Where am I now? Okay. That's so crazy heavy just to describe her voice. Almost a little too much, in my opinion, for a cousin's voice, but that's what he's hearing. Her voice, definitely the thing that Fitzgerald wants us to really focus on here. She has a pretty voice. It's full of promise, full of excitement. Just, he really hangs on to that. If he wants you to focus on something, he's like, yeah, there's this, but really, it's her voice that is the trait of this character, the notable trait. It's like, yeah, she has bright eyes, she has a really nice mouth, but her voice, creates a whole metaphor for it. This is super stylized. I love it. This is an interesting sequence of exchange here. So he just kind of Fitzgerald just like skipped through the part of like Nick's story, and he just goes right into like the humorous connection between the two, that they're so comfortable with each other they could just make jokes even though they're seeing each other after a long time. And then she immediately tries to pull him into her world, and then Tom has to step in and force Nick to talk a little bit about himself. Right here, you see what I mean. You suddenly just feel like the energy shift from him talking to Daisy and then him talking to Tom. It's not as fun. Definitely not as fun. See, I told him. I love the way this scene is playing, just the rhythm of it. It just allows him to skip over the details. Like, yeah, it doesn't really matter where he worked as a Bond man, James Bond man. And now he's like, you asked the question, and you don't know. It's like, why even bother asking? You know, like what kind of conversation do you really want to have? And that is really relatable. Huh. That's weird. So Tom really wants to stay in the East. And there's nowhere else to live, so he's kind of snobby. And this Miss Baker character, I don't know about her. So now it's like Nick, I feel like Nick just wants to hang out with Daisy, but dealing with company, right? Not sure what they're talking about exactly. That is good. I really like that line. He took down his drink as if it were a drop in the bottom of a glass. We all nailed it. It's funny. I didn't expect this to be funny. An erect carriage. Oh my god. So good. I honestly, when I read it the first time, I had no appreciation for any of this. Oh, strained eyes. Things just keep adding on. Love it. Oh, Gatsby. I hate it when I do that. So good. Wow. Just appreciating it as I'm writing it. Click, damn you. Whew. Okay, that's the end of another page. I think this is a good place to stop for day 2. I'm still in the thick of chapter 1. I might be able to get to the end of it by the end of next episode. I don't know. This was a lot of fun. I think I got a lot out of this day of doing it, this hour of doing it. I learned a lot about just introducing a character into a scene and just having them acknowledge the different things in a room and acknowledge the different characters and slowly present the details of each character and I guess the rhythm and momentum of a conversation and what to kind of omit, the choices that are the details that are left out and the details that are sort of built upon, mostly the description of the 2 women, first Miss Baker and also Daisy, and how the way they are, I guess, presented. It's so unique, and how the engagement with Tom is so unique. It's like the way the narrator, Nick Carraway, sees these different people. He really has a strong opinion towards them, and I think that is important of what is kind of building up this narrative, because not much is happening in the grand scheme of things. But it was fun. It was actually really good. It's really good. This was really good. It was a pleasure. I do look forward to doing this. This has been another week of self-isolation, social distancing, physical distancing. Is that what they want to call it now? Because they still want people to be social. Yeah, I'm just gonna wrap this up. I'm mulling over. I want to say something like really insightful just to like really wrap it up, but nothing's coming to my mind right now. Yeah, come back next week as I do more of this. I check in with you guys. Hopefully everything's all right. Shouldn't touch my face. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Thank you for joining me. If you tune in every Saturday, I'm just gonna get out of here. This is brutal. I'm doing a really terrible job wrapping this episode up. Tune in next Saturday. I type this out, I record it every Friday, and I'm aiming to get it out premiered sometime on Saturday. If you follow me on my Facebook account, Elliot Chen, I will post the link there. But if you're subscribed here, you should be able to see like premiering at. So I'm gonna keep testing out that. It's been a lot of fun actually. I hope I'll do my best to be available for the chats. No promises, but I will read all of them because there's really not that much. Anyways, this is episode 2. That is me. This is me. Oh God, I'm brain dead. This has been a long week. All right, I'm out of here.